So many walk the earth's surface and they don't know their purpose. Not sure of their future, so they walk around nervous. And the schools don't teach us, man, that's such a disservice. And they treat us like garbage because we come from where the dirt is. And we wear a t-shirt of our friends that got murdered. And we live with the killers and nobody trying to heal us. And they wonder why we walk around with guns and conceal them. And the adults are scared, so they run from their children. They can try to be positive, but we ain't gonna feel them if they speak in cliches and don't come with the realness. This is life, and it's hard, and so many don't make it. Where's the light? Where's the God in this industry of fakeness? Can you tell me how to make it out this maze of depression in this very cold world where they prey on the naked by way of deception and play with aggression, where we always got punished but never gave correction? So close to the edge with my toes on the ledge, looking over like what happens to your soul when you're dead. And I close my eyes and jump like I know I regret. But I didn't fall, I started floating instead. I rise, living life in the clouds. The sun is looking so bright to me now. I rise like a kite from the ground. Come look at all this light that I found. I had a conversation with God in a dream. He told me that my trials weren't as hard as they seem. If life's a movie, they were just part of a scene. But by the end credits, I would have the heart of a king, and the lies and the pain and the hurt and the tears should be celebrated like it was the first of the year. That people don't know who they are because they searching in fear. Then he pointed in my chest and said the church wasn't here. And I woke up with a sweat, but my mind was so clear. And I felt so light like I could fly through the air. No burden, no stress, no anger, no sadness, a bulletproof vest for all the danger and the madness. Revelation came in the form of a message that I am God too if I was born of his essence. And what I thought was tragic was more than a blessing in the shadow of death. But the Lord's my shepherd, I rise. Y'all ready to rise, Netroots, today? So I just want to take you back to that video. That was from 2020. And the march at the end was a march organized. Is Brandy here? It was organized by Brandy Fisher and APA. And if y'all remember, yeah, shout out to Brandy Fisher and APA, you know what I'm saying? And that was like the count every vote march. If you remember, we were worried like all the votes weren't counted. And it was in that march that we learned that like Pennsylvania turned blue. So I just wanted to remind y'all, it was Pennsylvania that decided the election, right? And who delivered Pennsylvania? It was black voters in Philadelphia that delivered Pennsylvania. It was black voters in Harrisburg that delivered Pennsylvania. It was brown voters in Lancaster and Altoona that delivered Pennsylvania. It was black-led organizations right here in Pittsburgh that delivered Pennsylvania. Don't forget that. We did this work. And so when One Hood began to organize for the national election in 2020, we did it with the idea and the understanding that we knew that we were organizing for the national election, but our eye was on the local election. Because the reality is that our vote has more power locally than anywhere else. And we knew we had an opportunity in Pennsylvania. On our Allegheny County Court, we had 9 openings for our judicial openings for our court. And so one of the things we did, we knew, unfortunately, the way this judicial process works, a lot of times you go from prosecutor to the judgeship. And we have judges that don't understand us, love us, care about us, and sentence us to the maximum sentences. And so we saw we had an opportunity to get progressive judges in these seats. And so One Hood came together with APA, Straight Ahead, and Unite. And we put together a slate of 8 judges, and we were able to get 5 progressive judges elected, all women, 3 black women. We was able to make some history right here in Pittsburgh. And so the reality, I just want to take y'all back again, because for me, this movement that we see happening in Pittsburgh really began with a tragedy. That tragedy took place in 2018 with the death of unarmed 17-year-old Antoine Rose II, who was running away from a police officer when he was shot 3 times in his back. And in 2018, when that happened, we took immediately to the streets to get justice for Antoine Rose. 2018 also saw one of the worst tragedies that we've ever seen here in Pittsburgh, with the largest massacre of Jewish people that ever took place in the Tree of Life Synagogue. And so we took to the streets in solidarity with our Jewish brothers and sisters to push back against the white supremacy narrative that led to that massacre. In 2019, the officer that shot Antoine Rose 3 times in the back was found not guilty. And we saw one of the largest mobilizations, all youth-led, where young people that following Monday walked out of school and thousands of them took to the streets to demand justice for Antoine. And then in 2020, with the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd, where were we at? We were right back in the streets. And you would think after all that marching and protesting, right, that at some point people would finally understand that we were out there because we care. We were out there for the love of our people, the love of our community, because we don't want to see another taken down, but the powers that be didn't meet our love with love. They met our love with tear gas. They met our love with rubber bullets. And so we said we knew we had to make a change. And so when a brother named Ed Gainey said he was going to run for mayor, we didn't have a choice as a community. We knew we wanted to stand behind this brother, not because he cared about us, because he was us. He understood our plight. And so we was able to get behind Ed Gainey, and the first time since 2010, a lot of people didn't believe it could be done, you know. I might not have believed at certain points, but our belief turned into action, and we were able to see the first black mayor elected in the history of Pittsburgh. The first incumbent mayor that lost since 1910. But we weren't done. We still had some history to make, right? Because one of our strongest political voice, Summer Lee, said she's running for Congress. And again, we don't have no choice. We can't sit on the sidelines when she's running for Congress. And so again, we all mobilized and got behind and started pushing for Summer Lee, and they put $3 million to try to stop her rise. But it's money power, and then there's people power, right? The people power came through, the people power spoke, and we made history again. So what I'm trying to tell y'all is black-led organizations in Pittsburgh is whooping some ass. That's what I'm really trying to tell y'all. We out here kicking ass. So now, I see Pat Clark. We had a panel earlier, and he said a word. I learned a new phrase that I'd never heard called deep canvassing. I never heard that. But it's something, it's the work that organizations like One Hood that we do all the time. So I just wanted to say part of the reason that we're successful, I would say maybe almost all the reason that we're having success, is because we're not just showing up when it's election time. We're not just showing up and knocking on doors and simply asking folks to fill out a form or come vote for somebody that they might not even know, have a connection to, or know that person even cares about their issues. We're in our communities 24/7. If it's a vigil, we're in our community. We at the park. We on the front line at the protest. We here with food. We here giving resources out. We're here giving support. And so I'm encouraging folks to way to do this. And that means the funders have to fund people 24/7 and not just when it's election time. And I say that to say, if there's one thing, if you know Mayor Gainey, it's one thing you know about Mayor Gainey, he's going to show up. He's going to show up. Mayor Gainey's last Saturday, this was just one Saturday. He was at and I follow him on social media. I'll be wondering how old is this man? How does he have the energy? He was at the youth football game at 8 a.m. Then he was at the parade. Then he was at the August Wilson celebration. Then he was at the Black Bear Festival. I think he went somebody else. I'm like, man, thank you, Miss Gainey, his wife, for allowing him to run like he is. But the reason that he's successful is because he is in our community 24/7. He is somebody that we knew. We didn't have to learn about him. He didn't have to share his agenda or policies, although we did and we asked. But if it's a protest, Ed Gainey was there. Whether he agreed with us or not, whether he felt we were too radical or whatever or not, he showed up because he cared about us. He came with love. He led with love. And he always speaks about this isn't a movement that he inspired. It's a movement that we inspired. So I would like all of us to come together and bring on our new mayor, the first black mayor in the history of the city of Pittsburgh. You can stand up if you want to, because we made history right here, and he's going to share a historic message with us. Let's bring him on, a round of applause, our mayor.